What up, fam? I am Dr. Day Luna, and you are listening to Drop It Like It's Doc podcast. Today, me and my baby are going to give you a little guide on the yeses and nos of pregnancy because there's so much information out there, it can get overwhelming. So I just want to make it nice and clear for you. Yeses and nos. So here we are. I'm huge. I am in my third trimester of pregnancy. So I have learned a lot along the way that I'm happy to share with you. And yes, I'm a naturopathic doctor. Really though, I just help people get pregnant. So this whole experience of being pregnant is very new for me. So I am grateful that I am learning information that I get to share with all of you, that you get to listen along and, get some of your questions answered. So I think that with this whole journey of being pregnant, there's so many new sensations in your body. There's so many fears that can come up, to be honest. So I want to give you some useful information, just some clear guidelines of things that are okay for you to do on this journey and things that you probably don't want to do anymore. And I think I'm going to start with the things to not do. I think I'll start there. And some of this might be controversial. Yes, it may be. But when you are pregnant, at least this happened to me, a lot of the things that I used to like just became unbelievably disgusting to me. Certain smells, certain foods, coffee, disgusting. The smell of it, horrible. And that's because your body is trying to protect your little bun in the oven. So when I say it's controversial, some people are like, it's okay to drink a glass of wine while you're pregnant. It's fine to smoke a little weed when you're pregnant. I'm sorry, I don't think it is. I don't think it is. Your genes are controlling this unbelievable dance of chemical mediators that are creating a new life inside your body. And we talk a lot about the soup that is surrounding your cells on this podcast. And you don't want anything clouding up that soup. You definitely don't want drugs in there. You don't want nicotine in there. You definitely don't want things like meth in there, okay? So drugs, I'm gonna say no. Nicotine is definitely a drug. Caffeine is a drug. So yes, you can have some level of caffeine that is safe. But also, if you were like me and drinking a French press every morning, that's just something that you're probably not going to wanna do and something that you should just not do. In addition, drugs are things like over-the-counter medications, things like Tylenol, Advil, because trust me, little mama, your body, as it expands, is gonna have a few aches and pains. Yes, it is. And if your partner is anything like mine, he's like, take this, it'll make you feel better. And I'm like, babe, no, I'm not taking that. And that's because over-the-counter medications are not safe when you're pregnant. And also, with that being said, if you are taking any pharmaceuticals that you just haven't seen your doctor, your prescribing physician, whether this is a mental health professional or someone that you're seeing for a certain hormone treatment or X, Y, or Z, literally whatever it can be, you need to let them know that you're pregnant. Because you might not be able to take that medication, you might have to switch it, it might just completely change the trajectory of your treatment plan because your body has just a little bit of a different signaling cascade that goes on when you're pregnant. So you really need to be mindful that you're not doing anything like that without the supervision of a doctor. And again, I'm not your doctor. No, I'm not. I'm actually on maternity leave. It's fucking great. It's really nice to be on maternity leave. So even if I am your doctor, not your doctor right now. So some other things that you do not want to do when you are pregnant are things like ice baths, things like saunas. I love saunas. I literally moved into my house with my sauna and I just stare at it every day because I can't go in it, because you don't want anything that's going to cause a significant stressor to your body. So that would be excessive hot, excessive cold. Do I go in the bath every night for a minimum of 2 hours? Yes, I do. But I am not in the bath so long. And honestly, even that's a little controversial. Some books will say don't take really hot baths. I love heat. But I don't go in the bath so long. You know when you get that feeling, like the oh fuck feeling, where like your heart's going and you feel yourself pulsating and you feel that internal like, this is a little bit much. You never want that feeling in pregnancy, whether that's from working out too hard, hot, cold, whatever it may be. So yeah, my baths are my happy place and I don't get to that point. It's, totally fine. But if you're someone that like Wim Hofs and ice baths, probably would not recommend doing that while you are pregnant. Your body wants to be more in the flow. It wants to be more in just the the easy, predictable chill time. And for anyone that does extreme hot or extreme cold, you probably know that that's not it. So you probably don't want to do like a sweat lodge on your vacation. You probably don't want to do anything detox. And you know how much I love detoxing. I honestly think that's a huge reason why I got pregnant without even trying, because my body was ready. And we are filled with so many toxins, but that is something you do in the preconception phase. That is something that you and your partner do together in the preconception phase. You are not doing it when you're pregnant. Because almost like this is a little fruit, a huge fruit for me. She's the size of a small melon, a small watermelon. That is fucking huge. But all of your toxins go to the little fruit that you have within you. You don't want the toxins to go to the little fruit. You want them to be cleared as much as possible, right? You're never gonna be this perfect human, but detoxing in pregnancy, hard no, hard no. Other things that are just toxic in pregnancy, you probably want to avoid. Things like stress, things like fighting with your partner, things like watching the news, things like excessive Googling. Fam, I have taken myself on so many wild mental journeys during this pregnancy, things that I am not proud of. I am not proud of. Literally, I would be teaching first trimester and be like, teaching yoga, and I would just like feel a little something in my uterus because there's like a baby growing in there, and I'd be like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom after this. There's gonna be blood everywhere. The baby is gone. I thought that I was gonna go to my first ultrasound and they were gonna be like, the baby has no head. That's actually a fish. How the fuck did you get a fish in there? And I wouldn't have even been surprised because my head took me everywhere. Every test I did, my mind went to the worst case scenario. That was so unnecessary and honestly ruined a lot of nights and days that I had. So I would highly recommend not doing that. And also, the news is pretty depressing at this stage of the world. Like, what's going on? Honestly, aliens are coming. Like, maybe don't look into that right now, because I told my daughter last night, I'm like, honey, I'm so sorry for what you're going into the world with, but you just don't want to fill your subconscious with any fear. Also, if you have any family members that are filling you with fear, I have one family member. Her name is Mindy. We love her. She had her own episode, Mindy Mayhem. She is literally my best friend, my mother. I kid you not, every time I bring up birth to her, you know what she says? She looks at me deep in my soul and she goes, Ashley, it is the worst pain you will ever experience. And finally I said, Mindy, enough. Enough with the pain talk. We don't have to talk about that. It's going to be whatever it is. But I don't need that filling up my subconscious mind. I instead want to fill my mind with positive birth stories. People that are like, hey, yeah, I orgasmed during birth. Like, yeah, more of that in the noodle, not more of this like fear-based bullshit. With that being said, you might not want to be around certain family members that are pushing their trauma onto you with birth. Because birth, I've never done it. Never done it. I could be doing it next week. I could do it today. I could go into labor right now with Eric, because that would make the most sense, honestly, that I go into labor like today in this room with him. But, I've never done it before. But apparently anything can happen. It's like a free-for-all. So a lot of people have a lot of trauma surrounding birth, and know that having boundaries around what you're comfortable hearing and not hearing is really important to protecting your mental health and your baby. So you don't need to listen to bad birth stories or have someone else's traumatic experience influence your birth the way that you want to welcome your little angel into the world. So those are a lot of hard no's. Some other ones might come up. I would also say, just to add to that, and then I'll bring that into the yeses, you don't want to be stagnant in your body. You don't want to sit a lot. Your body as it grows is going to be quite uncomfortable, and the more that you sit, I'm not saying don't rest. I'm just saying if you have a job that you're sitting for a while, you need to get up and move every 30 minutes minimum. You need to sit in a way that is not uncomfortable. So you're not gonna be able to cross your legs at some point. I actually tried to cross my legs before we started recording, and my baby was like, please widen them hips. It's just, you need to keep things moving. So let's go into some of the yeses. We'll go into the yeses. I guess since I'm talking about mobility, we'll start there. You wanna keep it moving. Your pelvis, there's a few bones that are together and they have a few different joints. And I think that in general, we think that our bodies are just way more almost stable than they really are. The bones of the pelvis can move and they can open. And when you step forwards and backwards, one leg and then the other, your pelvis has this gentle little movement forwards and backwards. And that is something that you want. That's something you want to encourage, because the baby is gonna nuzzle his little head into the pubic area and it's gonna wiggle its little fish body out, and it needs those bones to be able to move and have expansion, contraction. in the pelvic inlet, and the pelvic outlet. And in order to do that, you need to stay mobile. So I think that doing things like stretching, phenomenal. Doing things like walking, amazing. Yoga, obviously a huge fan. Pilates, really cool. I started doing that until my tummy started coning. That's gonna happen to some of you. That's gonna happen. You don't wanna do too much core because then your belly's going to turn into a cone. And then you'll get something called diastasis recti, which is where your abdominal muscles start to separate. And we don't want that. We don't want that. So you want to be, you're moving, but you're being gentle. With that being said, weightlifting is good and doing strength exercises are good, but you want to be mindful that you have someone on your team that is assessing your pelvic floor so that you are not having so much pressure internally that your organs just want to spill out. Have you ever heard of prolapse before? Yeah, it's not cool. It's not cool at all. That's when your bladder can start to sneak on out of the vagina. That's when your whole uterus can start to sink on down, maybe even part of your colon. Who's to say? Who's to say? You want it to stay up in there. Strong pelvic floor. So yeah, definitely recommend a pelvic floor therapist. We know that I love pelvic floor therapy. Swimming is also phenomenal. Amazing. It also feels really fun to float with your little baby. So movement is great. I would also recommend doing things that are going to stabilize and create mobility in your pelvis. So, you want strength in your pelvis, but you also want it to be fluid. So I love birth balls. They're basically just big exercise balls. I actually should have brought mine today so I could be bouncing on it this whole time for you. It's entertaining. But you move side to side, you move forwards and backwards. You're basically just twerking on a yoga ball. And it's gonna help create this mobility in the ligaments and whatnot. Because again, you don't want things to feel stuck and sticky. You want them to have this ability to move in alignment with this little fish that is wiggling on outside of you. Hopefully it's not a fish. Just kidding. Ultrasound confirmed. There's a gorgeous baby, a little girl in here. You also do not want to be doing or being exposed to toxins in the way of food. So here we are. There's so much controversy over what to eat and what not to eat when you're pregnant. I ask you this, my sweet friends. I ask you this. What did your great-grandparents eat? They probably ate a lot of butter, a lot of meat, a lot of fat. Depending on, maybe your grandparents grew up in Asia. They were probably eating a lot of fish, a lot of raw fish even. They were probably eating a lot of organs. These foods that we are scared of, that we are told not to eat, like undercooked eggs and X, Y, and Z, I don't know. I don't really buy it. I would say, I'm sorry, my vegans. I am so sorry. You're also gonna be way too hungry if you're vegan. I'm also sorry. But an animal heavy diet in pregnancy is key because that is so nutrient dense. A lot of those vitamins and minerals are really bioavailable. So I would say focus on lots of protein, lots of fruit, lots of veggies, because also those fruit and veggies are gonna be helpful to make you poop. Because as your organs get smooshed and as your body fills to the brim with progesterone, things are gonna slow down. So you want the fiber and you definitely need the protein. And again, if you do well with things like dairy, I know raw dairy, it's so controversial. I'm severely lactose intolerant, so I don't fuck with the raw dairy. I don't fuck with dairy at all, unless I want to break out in cystic acne, fill the room with what smells like a dead, decaying animal, and maybe shit my pants. So I can't do the raw dairy. I cannot do that. I can tell you within 5 seconds of consuming dairy that there is dairy in something. I'll literally be eating, this happened the other night. I was eating a burger and I was dipping my fries in this delicious aioli. And maybe 10 seconds in, I felt it. It all started to happen. And I was like, there's cream in this sauce. And my partner's like, there's definitely cream in this sauce. I'm like, why the fuck didn't you tell me? I'm gonna Dutch oven you. Why didn't you tell me? Yeah, you also definitely want to have a baby with someone you're comfortable with because shit's gonna get real. My partner, he's really used to me. Apparently he loves me, which is wild considering what comes out of my mouth and what comes out of my body when you give me dairy. So yes, nutrient dense, whole foods, what a farmer would eat, what you could get from the earth. You don't want a lot of processed foods. You don't want a lot of toxins in your foods. I think that we go in depth in this podcast about clean water, clean air, EMFs, all that shit. So I'm not gonna get into it on this, but those are hard no's, right? But yeses are clean living, clean water, staying hydrated, staying happy, eating good food. Other things that are hard yes in pregnancy is preparing for postpartum. We all get so involved in the pregnancy, the week by week, the step by step, the next test coming up, the outcome of that, what each trimester is going to involve. But guess what? Before long, that's over. And then you're just gonna have this little human. That's honestly where my mind gets stuck right now. I'm gonna have a little human soon. That's dependent on me for everything. So you need to think about what you're going to be doing postpartum. What kind of care do you want? What kind of support do you need? Are you and your partner gonna take short-term disability? Are you gonna get paid family leave? Are you going to have your moms fly out? Are you going to have family stay with you? Are you going to have food in the house ready for you in the freezer? Are you gonna set up a meal train? All these things are really important so that mental health wise, you are in a really good place and so that you feel supported. And with that being said, also know that there's about 1 billion things that you have to decide when you are pregnant. Not just you, your partner, because both of you have made this child. And yes, I would like to think that this baby is more mine because I am growing her, but that is just because I am a psychotic Leo. I am aware that I am crazy. She is half my partner. So it's actually very interesting for me as a fucking control freak to have moments where I have to consider someone else's choices in what they want to do with this child and how they want to raise her. So you have to start having these conversations with your partner early on. What do you feel about vaccines? Where do you want to birth? What kind of school do you want this child to go to? How do you feel about different birth interventions? How do you feel about truly anything and everything, the different tests? What would happen with the outcome of those tests? You want to be on the same page, and it's going to bring up some things for both of you. And it's kind of special because it's going to bring you closer because you have to learn how to communicate and you have to learn how to see different points of view and you have to educate one another on why you feel a certain way. So having these conversations early, I think, is really important. And having someone that you can communicate with is really important. And if that's challenging, maybe that means that you start to go to couples therapy so that you are amazing parents, so that you don't have children that see you fight over whether or not they're gonna feed you Skittles, which is something that my partner knows that is fucking forbidden. If he feeds my baby a Skittle, we're done. We're done. I know, I'm crazy, but welcome to a Leo birthing a baby. I will defend this baby with my life. Something else that I think is critical, that is a hard yes in pregnancy, you need to have other moms around. You do. Whether they are moms in your family or friends that are moms, no one's gonna get you like a mom. No one understands this process other than someone that has gone through it. And now that I am on this journey, I almost have guilt for how little I showed up for my pregnant friends while they were pregnant or postpartum, because this is wild. This is the most significant thing that I've ever done in my life. And the moms in my life, my best friends, even my own mother, the texts that I'll send, is this normal? Did this happen to you? I remember texting one of my friends early on, how do you not cry every morning when you don't fit in your clothes? You know, just having that support system of women that fucking get it and they want to show up for you. They want to give you gifts. They want to remind you that it's temporary. They want to give you resources. They want to tell you what worked for them, the different choices that worked for their friends and their family members. So having a community of moms is really a non-negotiable. I've never loved and respected parents more, but truly just lean on your community, ask for help. Because this is wild, whether that's help from a mental health professional, whether that's help from your, literally whoever's on your birth team, whether that's help from friends and family. Those are all hard yeses. So we're gonna cover in the next couple episodes quite a little bit about birth, I haven't even done it yet. Pregnancy, how to prepare for birth, that kind of a thing. But that's a general outline of yeses and nos. Trying to think if there's anything else floating around my noodle that I wanted to say to you. But I think that you all have a beautiful imagery now of me Dutch ovening my partner, so that's good. I'm gonna miss you all while I'm in the postpartum bubble, but I have a lot to talk about. So please like and subscribe to this podcast. Send it to someone that's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Also hard yes, I will say, mama, trust your intuition. Trust your intuition because you are starting to build this connection with a new life. You will feel the soul. You will feel the soul of this human inside of your body. And your mind's gonna try to take you on a whole bunch of journeys like I told you. I didn't know if my baby had a head. She has a gorgeous head. It's like the most beautiful head I've ever seen. I saw it on ultrasound. But your mind is gonna try to take you to all these different places and you get to feel in your body, is that a real fear? Is that just something that my mind is taking me on, or is this a deep truth that I need to go and explore? And starting to differentiate that with something like a mindfulness practice, I think could be really helpful. I am still learning as well. Thanks for learning along with me. I love you all so much, and send this to a mama or papa that needs to hear it. Leave questions in the comments and subscribe so we can be besties. See you soon.